You get me?
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Roadside to Islam. Aki, can you introduce yourself, please?
My name's Rana Chaudhry. I'm 27 years old and I'm living in South East London. I'm Bengali British and I'm married to a Jamaican sister.
Alhamdulillah. Aki, how long have you been Muslim for?
Basically, I was so-called born Muslim, born into a Muslim family, but I've been practicing and read up onto Deen for nearly 5 years now.
Aki, what was your life like before you came to Islam?
When we was younger, life was easy. You didn't think of all that stuff in it. You just lived, daily. You just live like monkeying around, fooling around and whatnot. I've got two brothers, one older brother, one younger brother. So we just, we're all similar age groups. So, all of us were kind of close in terms of we know each other's friends and whatnot. So we was quite well established on the blocks. Obviously, we used to get up to monkeyness, 8, 9 years old, staying up to 10, 11, knock down ginger, climbing up warehouses and all that. But it wasn't tough as such. But my dad died when I was like 8 years old, so it was just my mum raising up 3 little, monkeys, so to speak, in terms of like fooling around, monkeying around. It was kind of tough. That area was really, really deprived and high-rise buildings, and it was very congested, and there weren't really much going on in there. So you could not help but get influenced by what the product of the environment. So you grew up around bad people, you're hearing bad things. We used to do naughtiness, and it was just mischief in it. It was nothing too malicious, nothing too devilish, but it was the norm. Just fooling around and whatnot. Alhamdulillah, maybe I moved to Croydon, and maybe that touched upon me, because we moved from that rough environment to a very, very quiet street at the age of like 10, 11. And it did a lot for how I perceived and who I'm around and what daily life was about. Obviously back then, obviously it's much worse now, as most viewers would know. It's much worse now, but the gang thing has always been there. From back there, everyone had love for gangs. Everyone respected people in gangs. Everyone feared people in gangs. They were the people that people looked up to. Back then, we looked up to the 28s and the Peckham boys and the Ghetto boys and the Junction boys. And it was the talk. That was what occupied a lot of people's times, especially the youth. Because they gave the protection, they gave the fame, they gave the honor. So back then, me myself, before Islam, before what my life was like, I would say I'd describe myself as a good youth who hanged around bad people. So basically, I was never fully involved on this thing. I was never people couldn't over-influence me into get involved with gangs and selling drugs and doing this and that. But I did a little bit, and I knew my limits. Maybe because I had a certain amount of deen. Being born as a Muslim and being taught certain things and certain values might have saved me from a lot of things. So basically I was living life and a lot of people live it's like I wasn't an atheist, but I was living like there's no God, and not proclaiming there's no God, but living life, fulfilling my own desires, doing what I want to do. It might not be major in terms of, killing people, doing this, doing that, but I did what I wanted to do. If I wanted to go stuff like sleep with someone, then I would do it. I would pursue it. If I wanted to make a little bit of haram money, I would do it. Nothing major. Again, I don't want to paint this picture like I was going on like I'm bad or I was over on this thing. I was never over on this thing. Let me make this clear, because I was quite moderate, but still moderation. I could have swung either way. Alhamdulillah, but I'll go into that in a minute. So I was living life like there was no God. Fulfilling your own desires, doing what you want. So really it's quite questionable, am I Muslim or not? Because I wasn't really following this thing properly. So as I was getting older, moved to Croydon and whatnot, I was moving with older people. So I was 12, 13, moved with older people, and I could see certain things they're going into. So I would see, what olders got up to, and it was very alluring. It's like, I want to do that. You want to grow up before your time. Especially pre-puberty, it's a dangerous age, because, you're seeing that and you're thinking, that looks nice, I could do that, I want to be on that. And it wasn't nice, but because I got like a good mum who looked after me and all that, she kind of kept me, she kind of like, how can I put it? Put me in place, made me check myself, installed certain values. Don't mean I submitted to it, but she put it there. She put the scenario, the dilemma in there. She put the ethics in there, and you know, it looking back, it had an effect on me. So going back to, you know, people I moved with and whatnot, you know, I had very, very close friends who were having babies at like 13 years old, you know, joyriding, selling weed, especially at that age, 13, 14 years old, selling weed, smoking, this, that. And, you know, I got influenced to a certain degree. So now, as I got older, certain things, you know, became clearer. I started, obviously, you start reading up a little bit more. Certain things started changing. I had an older brother who made loads of mistakes, yeah, and alhamdulillah, I kind of learned off him, and I learned through other people as well. That you know, I've learned from the mistakes. I see how things are going on, and I see the consequences on it. I started getting my own intellect and start reasoning for myself. So as I'm getting older now, I'm starting to kind of like change my views in terms of do what I'm doing, know what I know. I can't help that because of the people I'm around, but don't be ignorant. I wasn't being ignorant. I started to read a little bit more, you know, started to switch up my life a little bit more. One of the biggest achievements of life is when I was like year 10, year 11, I got something called the Year Award, which traditionally goes to people that are like A-star students. I was never A-star student. I was always bottom, stroke middle, not because of my ability, not because of my brain, because I never exercised it. I never thought, I never implemented it. You just go on, like, you just have jokes, you just have fun, you know, you just monkey around, you just be silly. So I got something called a Year Award, which, you know, they gave to me because I was the most improved, most changed student in my whole year, which was a big achievement. So as I started getting older, obviously I started experiencing new things, because obviously the mind got curious. Nothing that people ain't doing already, so I don't have to go into it. Yeah. But I was big on football, like, especially when I was young. Football was a way to channel energy. Football was a way, you know, a way out. Football was a career path. Football was a big thing for me. So as I started getting older, I wanted to pursue this career of football. So yeah, alhamdulillah, you know, I got saved from that madness, and obviously studying up the deen as I did took me away from that dream, that maybe mirage, if you want to call it that false mirage of what could have been, and that allurement of that lifestyle and what came with that. So alhamdulillah, when I went up on the deen, you know, that kind of changed my life forever.
So Aki, how has practicing Islam changed your life?
That's a good question. It was not no Superman thing, because alhamdulillah, in every community we got brothers who were mad, wild, mad crazy, and they just changed up their whole lifestyle. And you know, it was nothing like that. It was nothing like that. It was not one extreme to another, which, mashallah, them brothers, you know, Allah just changes the affairs of their hearts and how they are. But with me, it was a lot of little things. Again, like I said, even though it wasn't no mad, big Superman change, it was the changes that I feel and I know is enormous. Like the impact of every little change of how I view life, knowing that there's a creator out there. Obviously, that sounds vast, but a lot of changes have come through that, in terms of, you know, smiling at your brother, giving salams, you know, prostrating your head down to Almighty Allah. You know, these little changes have made a big impact. Like, it's given me direction in life. It's given me purpose in life. It's given me, you know, a career. You know, I'm a youth worker by career, and what I do now, I don't think I could have ever done before I was Muslim. I'm working with little kids with behavioural problems, and they spit at me, kick at me, this, that, swear at me. I don't think I could ever have done that before Islam. But alhamdulillah, you know, obviously we know that these kids have issues, and they've got a lack of male role models, and you know, it's not a personal thing why they're doing it to me. And alhamdulillah, you know, it's good dawah to them and their families. And yeah, just how I view life, and you know, women, you know, your mum, like my mum, like, even though I always love my mum. My mum looks like me. I look like my mum. You know, I've always loved my mum, but I used to treat her bad. Like, not listen, not full back. Look, she no dad, like, she had no husband, no male supporting her. She ain't got no brothers over here. All of them are all abroad. So we used to take the mick. So you know, how I treat her. I try not to argue with her. You know, I try to implement certain things I know, the little that I know about how you treat your parents and whatnot. I try to implement that, and it has a big effect, inshallah. You know, how we talk to Muslims, non-Muslims, everything. Again, this is not nothing that's just come from myself. It's from the Deen. It's not nothing new. You know, it's all these changes. You know, that obviously we've got to look for, and you know, implement them, inshallah.
So Aki, what advice have you got to non-Muslims regarding Islam?
No, non-Muslims, obviously we all need advice, innit? And the advice I got to non-Muslims is obviously look into this deen. It's not nothing new that no one, you know, these people ain't heard. They probably have heard it before. I say the bigger advice is to the Muslims. You know, the Muslims that need to portray this message to the non-Muslims. You know, to the youth, to be more practical. You know, to take people, because you know, advice, people, it comes in one ear and out the other. You know, this deen is a practical deen, and you know, there's a lot of things that we could do, you know, to advise people indirectly, like taking them out to dinner, sports activities, this, that, lunches, you know, Eid events that the brothers do, mashallah. You know, get the non-Muslims down there, they can see the practicality of the deen. You know, in terms of advice of Quran and Hadith, you know, that will lick them, that will hit them hard. You know, that will, you know, but you need to establish that relationship with the Muslims and the non-Muslims together in order for that to happen, inshallah. So I would say my advice was more to the Muslims, because you know, a lot of us, we don't need, you've heard this many times, we don't need quantity, we need quality. You know, a lot of us are slacking, including myself. We're slacking, and you know, either we're slacking through knowledge or we're slacking through practicality. We're not putting this knowledge in practical means, you know. So that's it.
Jazakallah khairan. To see more exclusive interviews, go to www.roadsidetoislam.com. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.